welcome to a video tutorial working with word problems. In particular, in this lesson, we're going to go over one of the very first important steps, which is defining the variable, why it's important, how you get started with using algebra, what do you make your variable x, etc., all that good stuff. All right, so let's take a look at our problem. You have 300 t-shirts to sell for a fundraiser at your school. They cost, underline that, $600 to purchase and add the design, and you are selling them at the fundraiser for $12 each. After paying off the cost of the t-shirts, you made, so again in this problem I got costs and income and outcome, you made $2,712 off of t-shirt sales. How many t-shirts do you still have left over that you didn't sell? All right, so one of the things I like to do first in a word problem is to find that question at the very end. It's usually always at the very end. There's always a question that you're asked to answer. Highlight it, circle it, rewrite it, underline it. Do something to point out that that's what I've got to answer. I can't tell you, lots of times students miss problems just because they don't even know what they're trying to find. So we're trying to find how many t-shirts do we still have left over. Once you find that question, that can really drive what you're going to define your variable. We're using algebra. I use my variable for unknowns. So in this case, there's a couple ways I can do it. We're going to do one way. We're going to let x equal the number of leftover t-shirts. That's what I'm trying to find, right? How many t-shirts do you have left over? So I can define my variable x that way. However, a lot of you guys may read this and instinctively you just kind of want to make, well, I make $12 for each t-shirt I sell, so let's make x equal the number of t-shirts sold. Either of them work, but I have to be very careful. The one on the left specifically really gets to the question I'm asked to answer, but is a little bit trickier, not as intuitive. The one on the right is intuitive. I have $12 per t-shirt, so it's going to be 12x, 12 times the number of t-shirts. But I got to be careful. I've defined it like that. That's not really what I'm trying to find. So I got to remember, once I find x, I still have to figure out, well, how many were left over after the ones that are sold. So we'll get to that. But this is why defining the variable is important. So let's use each of the variables then and write an equation that makes sense. So on problems like these where you pay money and get money, outcome, income, I like to think of it as two separate sections. So I know I spend $600, so I make things I spend negative. I spent $600. That's money spent out, but I also made $12 for the number of t-shirts. So 12 times, but here I can't put 12x because x is the leftover number of t-shirts, but I got to use the fact that there were 300 t-shirts altogether. So if I subtract the leftover t-shirts from 300, that must have been the number I sold. So there we go. We got money spent, that's outcome, and then we've got income. And all together, the outcome and income, my net effect is that I made $2,712. Now, looking at the right, since I've defined it as x, it's a way easier to get the equation. We spent $600, my outcome. Totally butchered that. Plus $12 for each t-shirt sold. Here's where it's just plus 12x. It's nice. And all together, we made $2,700. Outcome, income, total. All right, now let's solve these all out. So first step on the left, I'm going to draw my line down. I want to get x. I'm going to distribute the 12. So we've got negative 600 plus 3,600 minus 12x equals 2,712. All right, let's combine like terms and slowly work on isolating x. So negative 600 plus 3,600 is 3,000 minus 12x equals 2,712. I'm going to subtract 3,000 from both sides. And 2,712 minus 3,000 is 2,712 minus 3,000. Sorry, hit a button wrong on my calculator. So we get negative 12x equals negative 288. Let's divide both sides by negative 12. And we get x equals 24. So since I've defined x as leftover t-shirts, there must be 24 leftover t-shirts. And I'm done with this problem. But now let's take a look at this other one here. So I've got negative 600 plus 12x. I'm going to add 600 to both sides. 2712 plus 600. And I get 12x equals 3,312. I'm going to divide both sides by 12. And we see x equals, divided by 12, 276. Now notice I've solved for x, but I'm not really done. I have to go back to what I defined x to be. X is the t-shirt sold, and I've got one more step to do, right? I've got to actually think, okay, there were 300 altogether, so let's subtract the 276 shirts I sold, and there's 24 left over. So hopefully this helps you see why defining the variables, being really careful about what you make your variable, and being very careful to answer that question can make a big difference. Most students will go through this problem, they'll let x equals the t-shirt sold, they'll solve it, they'll get x equals 276, and they'll stop. They'll think they're done, they solve for x, and they'll move on to the next problem, or they'll stop. But they really haven't answered the question completely, and they would get it marked wrong, even though they've done it and they knew exactly what to do in this problem. So don't make that mistake. Know what you're trying to find. Define your variable correctly.